All right. Hi, hey, hello. Welcome to my first ever content piece. I'm going to be doing a deck tech of Sultai Otters. So my name is Dylan Brown, and I am a member of Team Bus Stop from Australia, and I am their resident brewer slash cheerleader, and I've been playing Magic since Time Spiral. My best tournament finish was top 4 at Grand Prix Auckland, playing Standard as well. Before we want to begin, I want to give a quick shout out to Pat's MTG Bazaar for sponsoring us at Team Bus Stop. You can find links to his auctions and pages down below. If you're an Australian, do check it out. It is where I buy most of my singles for any event I have, and Pat does great shipping, so it really helps out. So I'm here to talk about the Sultai Otters list that I played at Regional Championship 9 in Melbourne this last weekend in Australia. It gained quite a bit of traction during the event, so I'm here to provide a breakdown of the deck, how it works, and why you should try it for any upcoming events you may have. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. Why did I win so many rounds and then I just dropped from the tournament in round 5? What happened here? So the early 3 rounds, I was on a heater. I played into Is It Prowess round 1, Gruul Mice round 2, which was on coverage, and then Domain Zer in round 3. Then we had the lunch break, I got interviewed by Riley Knight, and then we paired for round 4. And I paired into a good friend of mine, Samuel Loy, who was playing Gruul Delirium, and we were on table 1. Sam and I had a brief conversation, and we kind of knew what was about to happen. See, I had no intention of making the top 8 this weekend. Not out of self-doubt, more so that I couldn't travel to the US to attend the Pro Tour. The US is kind of scary right now for me and my kind of people, so I was aiming to just play for fun and, if possible, help a friend out when the opportunity arose. And it did, so I took it. I conceded to Sam. He still wanted to play it out, keep his brain fresh. We had a great match. Sam proceeded to run the tables into the top 4, and I would be Sam's only loss for the entire day. Round 5, I then played into Is It Prowess again, and I was beaten in a very close, very enjoyable 3-game set that I will remember very fondly. My opponent, Trevor Georges, even made the top 8, so both of my 2 losses for the day were in the top 8. After taking my first actual loss, and with a 3-2 record, I dropped. I'd accomplished what I wanted, and I went to work cheering for the rest of Team Bus Stop. Okay, so that out of the way, let's get into the deck. First off, I want to give credit to Sanctum of All for the initial Team Otters shell that they worked on at World Championship 30 in Las Vegas last year, which was an idea that I believe was inspired by Autumn Bichette. Secondly, I want to shout out Meowotic for testing the black shell more recently as a way to help out the mice matchup. I had a chat with her on stream, we exchanged some ideas back and forth for the shell, and then I went to work testing my theories with Team Bus Stop over the next month or so. So Sultai Otters is an evolution of Team Otters. It maintains the same combo core elements with a much stronger backup plan. So it borrows a lot of elements from Esper Pixie. The deck is now able to play extremely long and extremely grindy games, acting as a sort of combination of a control and mid-range deck that can kind of fumble its way into a combo deck at the end of it, when you've assembled a board state. So the combo is going to require the following cards. It's quite lengthy and I'll just get into it. So you need 1 copy of Stormchaser's Talent, you need 3 Otters without Summoning Sickness, and you need 1 Enduring Vitality in either of its forms. You then also need a Valley Floodcaller. This can be Summoning Sick or not, it doesn't matter. You need 1 copy of This Town in Big Enough and another bounce target that is a non-creature. So you tap 3 Otters, you make 3 mana. You then cast This Town in Big Enough to bounce your Stormchaser's Talent and 1 other non-creature, non-land permanent. And this will cost you 2 mana, so you'll be floating 1. This will trigger Valley Floodcaller to untap your Otters. And now with access to 4 mana, you can cast whatever you bounced for less than 3 mana and untap the Otters again. This Town, Talent, and a 1 or 2 mana non-land, non-creature permanent will generate 9 to 10 mana upon casting them all, which is enough to pay for This Town, 2 spells, and leveling the Talent. And this is how you generate that infinite loop. So with infinite tokens, infinite mana, and infinite power, while bouncing all of your opponent's non-land permanents, winning is really easy. Now, it's a lot of moving parts, and it looks like it's hard to set up. The good thing is, it's really not. We have 4 copies of Up the Beanstalks, 4 Thundertrap Trainers, and 4 Rakshas's Bargains. So you have an incredible amount of ways to dig for your pieces, and coupled with the fact that all of your dig pieces also kind of function as combo pieces as well. A lot of the time you can just, as I said, play that mid-range game and naturally assemble your combo along the way. So I iterated on the original shell by swapping out the stock-ups for Rakshas's Bargains, which serves 4 main purpose in Otters. So the first one is that it triggers Up the Beanstalk. The second one, it fills your graveyard with at least 6 CMC for Analyze the Pollen's collecting evidence ability. 3, it helps conceal end of turn Valley Floodcallers. and 4, while comboing off, it's an instant that can help you play around removal. So after we added in Rakshas's bargains, we decided to go all in on the Beanstalk and play the full playset. This helped us a lot into those longer, grindier matchups like Domain, like Caretaker's Talent decks, and a lot of the black mid-range decks, be it Dimir, Golgari, or Mono Black Demons. So we had Meowotic's black removal plan, which fixed the mice matchup. We had Beanstalks, which fits a lot of the control matchups. And then the traditional Otter Shell really dominated the mid-range stuff. With this spread of matchups, we thought that this was going to be one of the most powerful things to be doing in the format, and something we all really wanted to bring to the tournament. That was until Corey Steelcotter decks popped up. Now, I'm not saying that Izzet Prowess is the most powerful thing to be doing in the format, but it really does get to punish Otters on every single conceivable axis. You don't have the luxury of playing a long game against Corey Steelcutter Prowess decks. You don't get to survive with 1-for-1 removal spells against a deck that can generate a token every turn. And the Otter combo is just a little bit too slow, and if you stumble at any point, they are faster than you. So we tested the matchup extensively to see if we could fix any of these issues, and we noticed that games tended to fall into 3 categories. Category 1 is the games where your opponent doesn't draw Cutter. These are the freebies. Without Cutter, the removal suite and the combo elements of Otters just shine through. There's no real pressure that they can put on that doesn't get dealt with by Nowhere to Runs, by This Town Ain't Big Enoughs, and just with general, overwhelming the board. Second category is games where they draw exactly 1 copy of Cutter. These are the close ones. You can win, you can lose, but you don't get to win them slowly. These are the games where you need to mulligan aggressively for early spells like Spell Pierce, like Storm Chaser's Talent, like Nowhere to Run, and hope to leverage Enduring Vitality early as not only a good blocker, but a way to accelerate you further in your mana plan. And then there's category 3, which is the games where your opponent has multiple copies of Corey Steelcutter. I've never beaten 2 cutters, and at the RC, I got triple cutted twice on the day by both of my prowess opponents. These are what I like to call the go and get lunch games. You are very unlikely to ever beat 2 cutters. 3 is impossible. I would just concede at this point, honestly, without a good way to try and claw back in the game. And that's just how I have been approaching the matchup. So while the matchup can be tough, it's not all doom and gloom. Otters has a really strong matchup spread, in my opinion. The mice-based aggro decks are your second best matchup outside of the mid-range Golgari kind of things. So you have a lot of cheap, recurrable removal that doesn't trigger Screaming Nemesis, unlike the Teamer lists, in the combos of Go for the Throat, Nowhere to Run, and This Town Ain't Big Enough. Enduring Vitality is a relatively solid-sized body, which they usually can't punch through without some kind of combat trick or some on-board trick. And they have very limited ways and very limited points that they can interact with your overall combo. They run out of steam, you usually don't. I played this matchup on coverage, and I would highly recommend giving it a look and see what I mean by how this game kind of tends to play out. Another kind of popular matchup at the moment is Jeskai Oculus. This is another one that I believe is quite favourable for Otters. Jeskai Oculus doesn't have much interaction for your combo pieces overall, and its game plan is quite punished by This Town Ain't Big Enough. And most of the creatures outside of the namesake will fall to Nowhere to Run, so you're pretty happy to try and play a fairer game with them and go long. Outside of a big fear of missing out combat with multiple prof triggers or a really early helping hand on an Oculus, there isn't much pressure placed on you, and you can slowly amass your combo pieces while interacting at key points in the game. Ortov/Esper Pixie might be functionally different, yet they feel the same playing into them as Otters. Pixie took a lot of Otters toys that was showcased at the World Championship and turned it into more of a full tempo shell with many more aggressive elements. So given Pixie's tempo nature, Otters is going to fall behind early. You're going to need to utilize things like Beanstalks and Bargains and well-timed removal to stabilize, and then you will slowly start to take over into the mid-game. Pixie is also not a deck that wins very fast, so similar to how Pixie can lose to Domain, we can adopt the winning elements there with the way that Sultai Otters is built. Speaking of Domain, Domain's another matchup that you should expect to play at many tournaments, and it's one that my teammates all seem to think is quite good for Otters, but I keep disagreeing. I feel like you can only win this matchup if you trick your opponent. Valley Floodcaller is the absolute kingpin in this matchup. It's the best card to be playing, and timing when and where to play it is the key. So having Bargain and Floodcaller both represented by the same 3 open mana end of turn can present moments of pause for the Domain player. And if they make the incorrect decision, if they tap low or they tap out at any point from around turn 5, and you have access to a Valley Floodcaller, you can end the game on the spot. It's a matchup where I usually bring in the all-star from the old Team of Otters list, Song of Totentans, and the one mountain in the sideboard that you can analyze or bushwhack for to get access to that mana, as a way to either present a must-sweep board state or allow for a hasty win condition that they might not have expected when they tapped out and you have an empty board. The ability to give haste to every creature that comes into play, not just the rats that Song of Totentans makes, can really throw out people's perception of how the card is supposed to play out. Omniscience is another very common matchup, and this is one that I don't feel comfortable playing into. You're at least one turn slower than Omni's best draws, they have a lot of early interaction for you, and you struggle to kill quite early without fully developing the combo. I'm happy with how much I have in this matchup in the sideboard, but they do also get to pressure a lot of your sideboard strategies with both Voice of Victory shutting off my instant speed spells like Negate, like Heritage Reclamation, Spell Pierce, and then Clarion Conqueror shuts off Ghost Vacuum, but it also shuts off your own combo by turning off Enduring Vitality and Friends, producing mana. Ghost Vacuum is probably the key piece for this matchup, so I would recommend mulliganing to it aggressively or hoping to hit it off Thunder Trap Trainer, which will be able to get you non-creature, non-land spells in the top 4. Overall, I was happy enough with the deck into the field that we expected that I still registered it, and I would keep registering it moving forward with a few changes. 4 Beanstalks, for one, was for a much slower metagame than we expected, and something that I'm no longer happy with to continue playing into the deck. Another one is that 2 copies of Grim Bauble was great to have access to against the older red lists with the Mice or Gruul Mice, but now with Prowess being the premier aggro shell, I'm going to be moving these to the sideboard. Grim Bauble is easy to grow out of if you are the Prowess player, and it doesn't deal with a lot of the things from, say, Jeskai Oculus, which have 3 toughness. So this is something that I'm going to have in the sideboard and bring in for those more aggressive decks that I may encounter along the way. So you can find my updated list in the link below. It's going to have a few more added interaction pieces early, such as Spell Pierce, Heritage Reclamation, which not only is going to help me destroy Kori Steelcutter, but it's also going to pull double duty into things like Oculus, Domain, and Omniscience. Against Oculus, it's able to kill some of their creatures, like Fear of Missing Out. It deals with Profts. It can stop Helping Hand on Oculus itself. Against Domain and Omni, it functions as a great disenchant, but it also acts as Graveyard Hate for Omni as well. So I'm going to be slotting in 1 copy of Spell Pierce, 1 copy of Heritage Reclamation, and then I also wanted to test out the Auroral Procession loop, where if you cast and recast 2 Auroral Processions targeting each other in a loop, it can represent an infinite win off just 2 Otters instead of 3. It can also rebuy crucial cards as well, so it has some fairer applications than just instantly killing your opponent. Overall, Sultai Otters is a really powerful and really flexible deck that it is hard to exploit in a meaningful way, and is obscure enough that some opponents won't even know what you're doing until it's too late. I'm going to continue to work on the deck as the Final Fantasy spoilers keep rolling in, and I'll post any updates that I make even further that are going to be on my Twitter, @FairJordans, and I'm happy to chat about the deck at any point to anyone who wants to listen at all. The sideboard guide and the decklist guide, as I said, will be available below, and they're going to be on my Twitter as well. If you've watched this far, I genuinely want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is something new to me and something that I want to be able to do more of in the future, so any support will show that this effort is worth it on my end in the end. I'd also really like to thank Team Busstop for helping me test, for the constant feedback they give, and for supporting me in and out of Magic in all of my endeavors. And lastly, I want to thank MTG Bazaar again. For any Aussies who are watching this, please check them out and show Pat some support. He's a shining beacon in our community, from the awesome events he runs like Mana Clash that was recently down in Melbourne, to the insane prices and deals he gives, plus just who Pat is as a person. If you've ever interacted with him, you'll know what I mean. So I really think it's worth supporting someone who gives so much back to the community themselves that asks for nothing in return. Thanks again, and I'll see you all later.